take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheel drive you crazy. Nothing else but you still can. Don't even try to understand. Well, it's the 70s, and the times they are a-changin'. The Beatles, now a legend, have reinvented music for everyone all over the world. And in Southern California, 4 young men come together from all different parts of the country to create a brand new sound disc jockeys all over the world would call the Southern California country rock sound, or simply just country rock.
Don Henley, Glenn Frey, Bernie Layton, and Randy Meisner, better known as the Eagles. Together they would mix blues, country, folk, and rock and roll. And because they were rooted in all these wonderful styles of American pop music, it would only be appropriate they would name themselves after the great American symbol, the American Eagle.
The song you just heard was called Take It Easy. It was the first release off their debut album. The song raced to the top of the charts. Follow-up singles, well, like Peaceful Easy Feelin' and Witchy Woman, also followed in the same path all the way to the top of the charts.
Well, Eagles fans were so excited about the release of the second Eagles album, but actually, once it was released, many music critics had mixed reviews, and some even considered the second Eagles album a total flop. So from the second Eagles album, here is the title track of the so-called flop.
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? You've been out riding fences for so long now.
Well, of course, as many remember, the second Eagles album was also a great success in spite of the mixed reviews by the critics. And even Linda Ronstadt re-released the song Desperado to make it another big hit.
The Eagles are now on their way. 2 solid albums under their belt, a whole bunch of 45s on the radio, and they're on tour. When the Eagles started touring, remember there was just 4 of them, but that was okay because they were playing small places. You know, they were playing colleges, small theaters, state fairs, you know, 3,000, 4,000 seats at a time. But as their popularity started to grow, they started opening for bands like, well, like Renetta said, Linda Ronstadt, ZZ Top, the Rolling Stones, and they started playing stadiums and arenas for 20 and 30,000 people. Well, they decided amongst themselves that maybe they should hire another guitar player to make the band sound bigger for that kind of theater. So they hired a wonderful, wonderful guitar player from Florida. His name was Don Felder, an amazing guitar player. Fit perfect with the Eagles. So they go straight into the studio to record their brand new album. This album was going to be called On the Border. Now remember, the Eagles had already had top 10 hits with Take It Easy, with Peaceful Easy Feelin', Witchy Woman, and even Desperado, all solid top 10 hits. But they hadn't had a #1, not until this album. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the Eagles' first #1. Let me know if you remember it.
To start recording their next album one of these nights. But unfortunately this time there would be another big change in the band.
Now guitarist and founding member Bernie Layton who originally started the Eagles band off as a country western band, had recently become very disillusioned in where the band was heading. You know, he played the acoustic guitar like this one. He played the mandolin. He played the banjo, the fiddle, the pedal steel, you know, all very country western sounding instruments. But as the band's sound started to grow, they started to change and move away from country western and more towards a middle of the road and rock and roll style. So he felt like his position in the band was no longer needed, or even wanted for that matter. So he announced the band that he would be quitting right away. Which, as a big fan of the Eagles as I am, I'm glad he waited until after this next album because he gave us another great sing-along. So y'all are sounding great, so let's do it again. I'm very excited. Here we go, folks! I guess every form of refuge has its pride, and it breaks her heart to think her love is only given to a man with hands as cold as ice. So she tells him she must go out for the evening to comfort an old friend who's feeling down. But he knows where she's going as she's leaving. She is headed for the cheating side of town. You can't hide your lying eyes and your smile.
Are getting ready to go into the studio to record their biggest album to date. But remember now, they had a big problem on their hands because they were short a guitar player.
When Rolling Stone magazine announced that the new guitar player for the Eagles would be legendary guitar wild man Joe Walsh from the group James Gang, everyone was kind of shocked. You know, for those of you who don't know who Joe Walsh is, he was an amazing guitar player. Well, he still is an amazing guitar player, but he was in a band from the 70s called James Gang, and they were very, very famous for very loud and very hard rock. Also, Joe Walsh had he had a reputation for being kind of crazy, and not on the guitar. I mean, crazy. You know, throwing televisions out the hotel window, kind of crazy. But so most of us fans didn't think that was going to work. You know, Joe Walsh, here he is, very, very hard, loud rock, and the Eagles were soft rock with all those beautiful vocals. So we thought, no way. Well, we were all wrong. That collaboration turned out to be genius. And even to this day, they make amazing music together. You know, as a matter of fact, the inspiration and the influence that Joe Walsh brought to the Eagles actually redefines what the Eagles sound like today. Well, like Renetta says, they all go into the studio to record this next album. None of them thought what was going to happen. Turned out to be the biggest album of their career, and actually the biggest album of the year. Now, what album am I talking about? Which one? Hotel California, that's right. My God, that album was huge. It churned out like 3 top 10 singles. It was album of the year. It won 3 Grammys, and even their tour was a huge success that year. So we're going to do a song from Hotel California. This is one of our favorites. Hope it's one of yours.
a year to record, would cost them well over $1 million to record, and ironically it would be called The Long Run. Now many believe that it took so long and cost so much money. The reason was because of the success of Hotel California. Are you okay?
You said sex.
No, I said this. I said success.
Did she not say sex?
Yes.
I said success. Success.
That's why it costs $1 million to record all that sex. $1 million worth of sex the whole year.
The success of Hotel California. But unfortunately, during this long period of time, there would even be another big change in the band.
Well, bassist Randy Meisner, before he joined the Eagles, he was playing bass, guitar, and singing with many other bands, including Poco and, well, mostly, notably, rock and roll icon Ricky Nelson. Do you remember Ricky Nelson? Yes. Well, at the height of Hotel California, Ricky Nelson was also trying to make a comeback, in the mid-70s as a country western singer. So he called his old bass player and asked him if he would quit the Eagles and come help him jumpstart his career. Now imagine calling the Eagles and a bass player and asking him if he'll quit so he could come help you start your career. You think that Randy Meisner would have said, Ricky, of course I'll help you, but maybe not this minute because, I'm in the middle of a hugely successful project. But that's not the kind of man he was. He immediately said yes. He was also very tired of touring. He had 2 lovely children and a wife in Nebraska, and he just had had enough. It was the right time for him to quit. So he said yes to Ricky Nelson. He turned around and told the Eagles that he would be quitting immediately. Well, this left the Eagles in a real bad spot. Not only was Randy Meisner a great bass player, he was a brilliant singer. He sang all the real high, sweet harmonies, and he had just sang lead on their #1 hit, Take It to the Limit. Well, the Eagles thought about it for a while, and then they decided that they would rehire a young man they originally auditioned back in 1972. His name was Timothy B. Schmidt, who later on went on to great fame with his band, Poco. Now, 2 weeks after this audition back in '72, the story goes that Timmy Schmidt called the band and said, "Guys, something happened and it's terrible. I'm not going to be able to join the band." And they said, "Well, you're crazy. You're in. You're perfect." He said, "No, I can't. I'm not going to be able to join the band." So they asked him, "What could keep you from joining the Eagles?" He said, "I got drafted in '72."
Wow.
I mean, he must have been the last poor man drafted out of California. The draft was over a couple of months later, but needless to say, he did not join the Eagles back then. But he did for this album, and I think we're going to do a song from The Long Run.
This is a perfect time for him to join. You know what? I think that the ship's a little too calm. We think that Captain Shell is nice and asleep right now. We want to wake him up, so we're going to ask you to help us with this next song. Clap with us, sing with us. Let's get it rocking, and let's get him to wake up and see how good we do here. So we're going to help on this next song from The Long Run. Here we go.
Wake up, Captain Shell!
Put your hands together. Come on, wake it up. Just like that. Now sing with us.
Somebody's gonna hurt someone before the night is through. Y'all so wonderful. Somebody's gonna come undone. There's nothing we can do. Everybody wants to touch somebody. If it takes all night, everybody wants to take a little chance to make it come out right. Gonna make a heartache tonight, heartache tonight.
Okay, so now, even with the success of Hotel California and the success of The Long Run, now the Eagles released another album called The Eagles' Greatest Hits, which, by the way, to this day is known as the biggest selling album of all time in the 20th century. Even with all of this, they'd all had enough. They didn't want to tour together, they didn't want to sing together, and they did not want to record together. So they all split up to go do their own separate individual projects. Very shortly after they split up, I think it was Don Henley was on the David Letterman show, and David said, "Hey Don, when are you guys going to get back together?" And very clearly, Don Henley said, when hell freezes over. So 14 years go by, 14 years. The record company, they were definitely ready. The fans, we were definitely ready. And finally, the Eagles were ready. They knew it was imminent. They were going to do another tour and another album. But they say there's only one possible thing we could name this tour and this album. And what would that be? Of course, it was Hell Freezes Over. Well, you know what, Baldy? We're going to do a song from Hell Freezes Over. And I want to dedicate this to anybody in the audience who's ever been on the Dr. Phil show. This is called Get Over It.
Wonderful. Y'all are an amazing crowd. Thank you so much for staying up late with us. Hope you learned a little bit about the Eagles. You know, a lot of you came in here didn't really know the band or know the band members' names or especially any of those stories. We had a young lady last cruise and she came in right before the show started and she said, "Hey Toby, why are you doing sports trivia tonight?" I said, "Not those Eagles." So I can see how some of you would get confused. But even though you don't know the band, you don't know the band members' names, by applause, how many remember those songs? Aren't they amazing songs? And they're not just memories. You know, when you hear one, they're like little time capsules. And every time you hear one, you're transported back in time. You remember where you were in '72, who you were dating during Hotel California in '75 and '76, who you got married to, where you were working. You know, when Renette and I first heard Take It Easy, we were singing at a Shakey's Pizza Parlor. Do you remember those? We were singing at Shakey's Pizza Parlor, and the song came on the radio and the speakers in the parlor, and we were both rehearsing. I don't know what we were doing, but we both stopped what we were doing, and we stopped talking, and both our mouths just fell open. We'd never heard anything so beautiful. A blend of country western, rock and roll, and those beautiful harmonies. Well, that day we decided that that's what we were going to do for a living. We're going to spend the rest of our lives trying to be songwriters and performers. We practiced every chance we could. We performed anywhere anyone would let us. 2 months later, we made the brave move up to New York City, and a couple of years later, we were very fortunate to actually get signed to a major recording contract with RCA Records, which we're all very proud of. What a nice surprise.
Bring your alibis. Mirrors on the ceiling. Pink champagne on ice. And she said, we're all just prisoners here. Our own device. And in the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast. Stamped with their silly lies, but they just can't kill the beast. Last thing I remember, I was running for the door. I had to find my prisoner to the place I